There is no script for an evening such as this. Openers such as good evening, welcome, ring hollow, and are completely inappropriate. Our minds are stymied, our consciousness befuddled, our voices muted. The question why rings incessantly, thousands of times each day. It remains unanswered. We have only our faith in the Almighty, creator of all, knower of all that we can never apprehend. And so we plod awkwardly forward. Family members, Binghamton University President MaGrath, esteemed members of the administration, rabbis, teachers, friends, we have gathered tonight to pay tribute to and remember Asher Strobel, a remarkable young man who was torn from our midst suddenly, a shining light that will never be forgotten, can never be forgotten, may never be forgotten. If you look at the screen now, you may recognize this very famous photo taken by the spacecraft Voyager 1 on February 14, 1990. If you look carefully, right there, you can see a tiny dot. This is an image of planet Earth taken from 4 billion miles away as the spacecraft exited from our planetary neighborhood, from our solar system. Dr. Carl Sagan, who for many years was up the road in Ithaca, famed astronomer, reflected on this tiny pale blue point of light in his book, Pale Blue Light, of which I read but a tiny extraction. Look at that dot. That's here, that's home, that's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who has ever lived out their lives. Every saint, every sinner in the history of our species lived there on a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam. If the entire planet feels like something very small, can one person among the billions who live here really and truly matter? We who have gathered here tonight in shock, pain, and grief know the answer to that question to be a resounding yes. The world will never be the same without Asher Strobel. Why do we matter? This is a question all thinking people ask themselves. The psalmist asks this question and answers this question in Psalm 8. When I see your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and stars that you have established, I wonder, says King David, what is man that you should remember him, and the Son of Man that you should be mindful of him? Yet you have made him slightly less than the angels, and you have crowned him with glory and majesty. The reason we absolutely matter is because unlike all other aspects of creation, each one of us was shaped in the divine image and vested with a soul, a veritable aspect of the divine. The first description of man is not as an intellectual or an emotive being, of man's virtuosity or of man's accomplishments. These are all incidentals. What makes man infinitely important and indispensable is his creation in the image of God. Asher knew this. He lived this over and over again over the last few weeks, days, and hours, in speaking with his friends and speaking with his acquaintances here and wherever I was. People talked about Asher as a person who would go out of his way to say hello to you. He never tried to hurry away or make believe he didn't see you. On the contrary, he would seek you out. He would make a point of saying hi. Unlike most of us, Asher didn't get comfortable in a particular circle and just stick with those people. Asher amassed the most amazing and eclectic constellation of friends from every conceivable background. He was friendly with people he didn't know very well, but wanted to know better. He recognized how precious, how unique and irreplaceable each person is, how they are indeed crowned with glory and majesty, and he showed his appreciation for this in tangible ways. And now, Asher, a man created slightly less than the angels, is with the angels on high. And we are left to try to memorialize him properly in thought, speech, and action. We will begin tonight's service with the recitation of a psalm led by Rabbi Zalman Chaim. You can join in the recitation following along on the screen.
Shir Lamalos, Esainai El Haharim, Me'ayin Yavai Ezri, Mehim Adonai, Osei Shamayim Ba'aretz, Al Yitein Lamot Raglacha, Al Yanum Shomrecha, Hine Lo Yanum V'lo Yishan Shomer Yisrael, Adonai Shomrecha, Adonai Tzilcha, Al Yad Niminacha, Yoimam Hashemesh Lo Yakeka, V'yareach B'layla, Adonai Yishmarcha Mikol Ra, Yishmar Es Nafshecha, Adonai Yishmar Tzeischa V'yacha Me'ata V'yad Olam.
Thank you, Rabbi Chaim. With us tonight is Interim President Peter MaGrath. I regret that it is this event that brings the President to the Chabad Center for the first time, and that, for many of you, I suspect, like for me, it's the first time you're meeting him. You have undoubtedly heard of his many accomplishments in Binghamton and in many other places, and it goes without saying that his schedule is rather onerous. Tonight, however, the President has taken time to be with us, surely to represent the university in which Asher was enrolled. But I think more profoundly, President MaGrath is here as a human being who wants to address the family and friends in a moment when words are so hard to come by. Thank you.
In a physical sense, we have lost Asher Strobel. It hurts. It hurts terribly for his parents, his family, his many friends, his religious home here at MaGrath. Physically, he is gone, but spiritually, he lives and is present, I believe, right here, now. I did not have the gift of knowing Asher, but I know many of the important things about him. He studied religion in Jerusalem and was a proud Jew who was carefully observant. He loved life, sports, dressing well, and liked developing friendships among persons from all backgrounds and belief systems. Asher was thoughtful and smart. He was a quick, not a slow study. And he was a smiler, not a frowner. Beyond the connection all of us here have as human beings, I feel, in my heart and soul, a personal connection with Asher. As Rabbi Slonim knows, I too experienced a devastating and unexpected personal loss 12 months ago. My beloved Deborah, my wife of 21 years, was snuffed out in a tragic accident. We were on a vacation, just as Asher was called away while on a skiing vacation in Wyoming. And Wyoming was where, for 20 years, Deborah and I hiked in the Tetons, a place we found invigorating and sacred. This I believe, my Deborah and Asher live. They live spiritually and are at peace. As Jews and Christians and other beliefs we have, we believe this. And in so doing, honor them as we cherish them forever. And Asher, I say this to you, your body is not in this room, but your spirit, your presence lives, and you are present here with us. I conclude with this beautiful affirmation from the Hebrew Union Prayer Book. So long as we live, they too shall live. For they are now a part of us, as we remember them.
Thank you so much, President MaGrath. It seems wrong for anyone to speak in such a moment, except for someone who can speak from such a place. Thank you for speaking so personally and so meaningfully. I want this moment to also recognize Vice President Brian Rose, who's with us tonight, and Dean Dillon, the Dean of the School of Management, where Asher was enrolled. And thank you very much both for coming. Like all of you, I keep expecting to bump into Asher any moment. I know for sure that he would be here for this type of gathering, whether he knew the person well or not at all. That was Asher. That is Asher. He is and will be with us in spirit always. Asher's family, his parents, his grandmother, his siblings, his aunt, his cousins, a friend, traveled from New Jersey to be here tonight. Speaking on behalf of the family is his brother Arnie.
On behalf of my family, I would just like to thank Rivkah Slonim, his wife, and the whole Chabad community here at Binghamton for touching our lives and the lives of so many others, as you did with my brother Asher. Although there are no words to express the state of shock, grief, and anguish my family and I have experienced over the past few weeks, we truly appreciate the support of a wonderful community and many of Asher's friends and classmates who are gathered here tonight. As a younger brother to Asher, I never imagined a day like this would come. Asher was always so alive, ready to take advantage of the next opportunity that came his way. When we were younger, Asher and I were able to share many good times together. Whether it was going to the next Yankee game or being included when his friends were around, I knew that Asher was a special older brother. Despite our childish fights and sibling rivalry, I was proud to be Asher's brother in the eyes of his beloved friends. As time has passed, our relationship has certainly grown stronger. Just in the past few months, when Asher has been back from Binghamton, we've seen movies, gone to a Giants game, and went to the gym together. I will never forget the last precious hour I spent with Asher at the gym a few days before he left to Wyoming. He encouraged me to work harder, not just stop running the moment I began to feel tired. He promised to show me how to use some of the other machines at the gym next time. But unfortunately, this is one of the last memories I'll ever have of my older brother. And the reality is that there will be no next time. At Binghamton, Asher had procured for himself a bright future with his close friends, loving attitude, and his unconstrained ambition. Even more important, he felt a connection with his Judaism and with the wonderful communities both here and at home in Englewood. At the Shvat in Israel, a few of Asher's friends related a story about how Asher had the opportunity to move off campus to an apartment with his friends. However, Asher hesitated to move and never did because of his relationship to God that he was able to nurture here at Chabad. Not knowing this previously, I was touched, comforted, and inspired by Asher's commitment to Hashem here in Binghamton. To me and Joey, Asher was a cool older brother who taught us so much. To my parents, Asher was a loving son who they are always proud of. To his friends, he was fun to be with and always put a smile on your face. To all of us, Asher was a role model on how to live a life of emet, truth. Although there will be no more going to movies, games, or lessons at the gym, Asher will always be alive within me and through my actions. The lessons and intangibles he has imparted upon me will certainly enable me to live a more fulfilling life, as he did so well in just 21 years. I will miss him forever, and nothing will ever be the same. But I will always try to make him proud, as Josh, Joey, and I will always be proud to be Asher's brother. Thank you very much.
I and the entire family, may Hashem send you consolation. May He give you the strength that you need. And we pray that very soon a healing be brought to this world, and that we experience a time of perfection and redemption, and be reunited with all of those who have passed from our midst, we hope for a very short time. Dana Driscoll, Vice President of Chabad Center, will now offer remarks, actually written by Ariel Schweitzer, student president, who is unable to be here with us tonight as she does not feel well at the moment.
When I first heard the tragic news, I simply could not believe it. I already missed my Chabad buddy Asher. In Pirkei Avos, also known as the Ethics of Our Father, Hillel says, Al tiprosh min hatzibor, do not separate yourself from the community. This is what I think of most when I think of Asher, always immersing himself within his community. When I attended Asher's funeral a few weeks ago, I was amazed as I looked around the shul and saw how many different groups of people or communities came together to pay their final respects. I saw friends from Inglewood, Frisch High School, Nativ Arya, and our large and close-knit community of Chabad of Binghamton. We all came together to mourn the loss of our beloved Asher. I thought to myself how many lives Asher had touched. I also thought back to the first time I met Asher, just a year and a half ago. Coincidentally, we were both celebrating Simchas Torah at NYU. As soon as the holiday ended, I got a text from an unknown number. I opened it up and it read, "Hey, it's Asher Strobel from Binghamton, and I wanted to know if you had room in your car to take me back to school." I was a little nervous to sit in a car for 3 hours with someone whom I had never met, but being that I had an empty car, I couldn't say no. In a short time, before I knew it, I was back in Binghamton and had a new, warm, funny, and outgoing friend. This is how we will all remember Asher. This was Asher's trademark, always smiling and having a great time. As we learn in Pirkei Avos, involvement in the community is a guaranteed way to bring those who are no longer with us closer to us. Their memories are perpetuated when we act to benefit the community. They are next to us, helping us with any problems we may encounter. We are all thankful that we were given the chance to have known Asher. His memory will live on forever in the hearts of our entire Chabad community. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana and Ariel, for your heartwarming words. I'd like to ask Alex Casimir to offer words on behalf of Hillel. Or if it's not Alex, then I'm sorry. Jesse, on behalf of Hillel.
I didn't know Asher as well as many of you did.
but I spent enough time with him to gain an appreciation of what a genuine person he was. Asher always had a smile for everyone. When I saw him on campus, I knew a big hug was coming my way, and it wasn't just a pat on the back, but one that can turn your whole day around. Because of his genuine charm, he was always surrounded by friends, which is one of the greatest gifts anyone could ever ask for. On behalf of myself, Hillel at Binghamton, and the larger Jewish community of Binghamton University, I extend my deepest condolences to Asher's family and friends. May his name be for a blessing.
Thank you, Jesse, for those touching words. As is already very apparent to all of us, Asher has hundreds of friends. We want to give everyone who wishes to do so the opportunity to speak and share their memories, and we do have an open mic arranged for this purpose after this portion of the evening. For now, I want to call upon some of Asher's very closest friends. Hillel Sussman was Asher's good friend and roommate last year and during the fall semester. I'd like to ask Hillel to say a few words.
I had the pleasure of rooming with Asher for the past 2 years in Binghamton, and Asher and I were friendly competitors back in high school throughout basketball and continued our friendship while in Israel for the year. Being that opening and welcoming person that he was, naturally I felt comfortable choosing him as a roommate. Instantly we became close friends, mostly due to his amazing way of connecting with people. Asher had the ability to connect with almost anyone in the world. But although there were many things that made Asher the person he was, there are a couple of things that really stood out to me when thinking about this, and how amazing of a sincere and person he really was. The first thing that stood out to me about Asher was the fact that he really was his own person. When Asher put his mind to something, you knew he would follow through and do it. One story that just came to mind when during finals week, it was about 8:25 in the morning, and I happened to be awake, and knowing Asher had an 8:30 final, I was a little shocked that he was slowly getting up and not rushing to leave. So I informed him what time it was. I told him his final was in 5 minutes, and his immediate response was, I needed to put my tefillin on and pray first before anything. Asher was someone who had his priorities set straight and couldn't be strayed away from anything he was attempting to do. He knew he would do fine on his final even if he came a little late. To him, it was more important to pray and do the things which he saw as important, no matter what time of day it was or what he needed to do. I admired his dedication and drive to do whatever he set his mind to. Another trait of Asher's I strongly admired him for was his humility. A day before we were set to go back home for break, I was freaking out a little because I needed a ride to downtown Binghamton to finish a group project. Asher saw me freaking out, and being the person he was, suggested that we would get lunch and would gladly give me a ride downtown. 2 minutes after leaving campus, his tire ran over a block of ice, which wasn't cleared after the storm. His immediate reaction, knowing Asher, was to apologize for not seeing the ice and offering to continue driving anyway. After feeling the tire pop, I refused, and we went to the local mechanic on Shvat. The entire time, Asher genuinely felt bad that he couldn't get me a ride there and kept insisting on either calling me a cab or at least treating me to lunch. I kept trying to convince him that it wasn't his fault and rather it was because of the storm. But this is the person that Asher was. He was sincere and genuine in everything he did, and his humility and humbleness is something I envied, and something that is very hard to actually attain. He was sincere in all his actions and truly meant everything he did. Maybe the most amazing trait about Asher was his simplicity. He was someone who didn't need a lot to enjoy himself. He truly enjoyed the little things in life. He enjoyed simply watching a Giants game, playing a round of golf, watching one of his favorite TV shows, or if you just needed someone to hang out with, he was always there. If you were stuck in the middle of the night, he would be the first person to call. Or if you just wanted to have a relax and chill down at night, he was there for you. After hanging out with Asher just one time, you really felt like he was your best friend and would do anything for you with no hesitation and no questions asked. Lastly, a thing that really stood out to me about Asher was his relationship with his family. Naturally, everyone acts a little different with their friends and with their family. But you can really see the truth behind someone watching them interact within their family. Asher was extremely close to all his brothers, with whom he spoke to constantly on the phone, as well as with his parents, whom he would always go back and see, even if it was just for a second, on his way back to the city for the weekend. The first weekend ever in Binghamton, when Asher's little brother Joey had come up to help him move in, I saw something amazing. His brother, who was around 8 at the time, was so happy that his big brother Asher needed his help setting up the room. Although Asher really didn't need his 8-year-old brother carrying his things and helping him out, Asher made his brother Joey feel like he was the most important person in the world. Even though Asher could really do without the help of his 8-year-old brother, he made him feel like he was needed and wanted. Asher's ability to make anyone feel welcome and his ability to connect to everyone, whether it was his 8-year-old brother, his professor, his employer, or just a friend, really made him the amazing and truly sincere person that he was. Asher had the ability to light up any room he was in and was truly one of a kind. I speak for everyone when I say he is already greatly missed. And may Asher live on through all of our lives, and may the Shvat happen to live.
Thank you, Hillel. Something that a friend and a roommate should never have to do. Samantha Richmond. I'll say a few words now.
I feel so fortunate to have known Asher over the past 2 years. Although I only knew him for such a short time, I learned so much about him. Asher embraced everyone and everything with a smile, which definitely left a profound impact on all those he met. I would like to share with you the last memory I have of Asher, because I believe it shows how special a person he truly was. I collected articles of clothing through my sorority to be donated to a homeless shelter last semester. As I was going to Bingham to pick up bags of clothing from my sorority friends, I ran into Asher in the elevator. He asked what I was doing in Bingham, and I proceeded to tell him about my clothing drive. Asher responded by saying he wished he had known about the drive, as he would have brought back clothes to donate after Thanksgiving break. Without asking him for anything, Asher went to his room and brought me a shirt to be donated to the homeless shelter. I believe this story demonstrates Asher's true character, as it proves how willing he was to help others without being asked. Asher will definitely be missed by all of us, but I believe each and every one of us is very lucky for having known such a kind and generous person.
The literal shirt on his back. Joey Fruchter.
You shouldn't be here right now. We are. We're here coming together to remember a good friend and a great kid. We are left with no explanation as to why Asher passed away, other than God takes and God gives. There will be difficult times in each of our lives, leading us to think life is not fair. These past few weeks, I believe we've all shared in this thought. We must remember that however short Asher's life may have been, he lived life to the fullest as a role model to us all. There are no words to adequately express the loss of Asher. In fact, when I was asked to speak, I was hesitant. Yes, I was good friends with Asher, but I'm sure other people were as well. And that is what I believe exemplifies Asher. He shared his warmth, kindness, and friendship with all of us. He was ambitious and determined. One of those kids that we all knew would succeed with any path in life he would choose. You can learn a lot about an individual's personality with how they play sports, and I know I learned a lot about Asher with how he played ball. On the court, he would put the blame on his shoulders, just as he did off the court. Asher was quick to find fault in himself, but would never find fault in others, a quality rare in today's society. Unfortunately, I cannot offer any words of comfort to the Strobel family, because I do not know how it feels to bury a son, but I know how it feels to bury a friend. God should grant the Strobel family only happiness in their lives.
Binghamton. We know that there are many who have things to share, and all of you will get a chance. I'd just like to call, for the last part of this, Jody Israti and Ilana Stern. Come here together.
I'll never forget the phone call I received the morning of January 7th, 2011. Hillel flashed across my screen on my phone. I assumed he was calling to talk about planning a night out with Jody and Asher at some point during winter break. Little did I know I would be receiving the most shocking, tragic, painful news that I've ever been on the receiving end of. At that moment, both my mind and my heart were unable to comprehend it. I asked myself, how can someone who we all saw so frequently, someone so happy, kind, ambitious, and loving, just leave us so abruptly? I still have a lot of trouble understanding it, and I don't know if I ever fully will. But what I've realized is that rather filling our minds with the question, why did this happen, we should instead fill our minds with something we can answer. Who is Asher? What made him such an incredibly special person? How is he always so capable of lighting up a room with his contagious smile? These are questions that we can all certainly answer. Questions whose answers will forever keep Asher alive in our minds and in our hearts. The first time I met Asher was at an OAR concert in the city the summer before I transferred to Binghamton. When I look back on it, I literally could not be more thankful for going to that concert, because just a few weeks later, after arriving in Binghamton, I ran into Asher again, and he instantly became my close friend. Anyone who knew Asher knows that hanging out with him for more than 5 minutes and you're guaranteed to be A, hysterically laughing, B, getting asked about your day, or C, receiving a compliment. These three things were all ways in which Asher was able to make people smile. He just wanted to pass his smile along to everyone else, and it worked every time. I'll never forget how we met up one day after our internships in the city this past summer. We were supposed to get dinner with some friends, but I forced him to meet me at Forever 21, the clothing store in Union Square. Although he didn't like the aspect of accompanying me to go shopping for dresses, I just remember hysterically laughing the entire time as he stood there with his briefcase and suit on, ready to enter the world of business and finance. After all, Asher was incredibly ambitious and goal-driven, bound for success. After grabbing some dinner, all I could imagine in that very moment was doing the same exact thing with Asher 20 years down the road. Maybe not the shopping, but going out for drinks and having a good time after a long day at work. He was just that type of person that you could always meet up with because he treasured every single one of his friendships. We all saw that in him. Since I've returned to Binghamton this past Saturday, I've walked around campus, sat in the Union, and gone out expecting to see you and giving you a huge hug, as I always do. As I said before, it's painful to come to terms with why what happened happened. But by thinking about your sincerity, your ambition, and the happiness that you've given to me, your friends, your amazing family, it honestly warms my heart in this time of misfortune. If we could all remind ourselves of Asher's qualities, his spirit will long live within all of us. My deepest condolences to the Strobel family. Your son will forever be missed. We love you, Asher.
It doesn't feel right standing up here, speaking about someone so real, so special, so inspiring, someone who can never and will never be forgotten. I met Asher when he first came to Binghamton after returning from his years spent in Israel. The greatest thing about the friendship that Asher and I shared is that we became very close friends in an instant. He was someone that I felt comfortable around, and I knew he appreciated me for who I was. For those who knew Asher, you know that what made him happy was making others smile. Whenever I would see Asher, within the first 5 seconds of saying hello, he would throw out at least 20 compliments just to keep you smiling. He had an incredibly infectious smile. It was impossible to be in a room with him without laughing and feeling as though nothing else in the world mattered. Not only was Asher an extremely intelligent individual, he was ambitious and he was never afraid to voice his opinions when the time called for it. Asher knew exactly where he was headed in life, and that was Wall Street. He would always talk about the accounting and management classes he was taking, reminding himself and others of the bright future that was surely destined for him. Alana and I both agree that Asher was someone we could see ourselves being friends with 20, even 30 years from now. We were sure of it. I can't even remember the number of times that me and Asher would plan out our lives. We would both be working in the city, meeting up for drinks after work, laughing and sharing our experiences. I remember one night this summer, Asher knew that Alana and I were hanging out, and he called me and said to me, "Jody, wherever you guys are, I'll go there. I don't care. I just want to see you guys. I want to spend time with you." It didn't matter that Asher lived in New Jersey and we live in Long Island. What mattered to him was that we'd be together. There are some people who walk into your life, and once they're gone, you know that they were put there for a reason. It's painful to believe that we will never meet up with Asher in the city. We'll never be hanging out in Bingham together. We won't see him studying in the library. We won't be grabbing a bite to eat. And we won't see him on Shabbat here at Chabad. It seems so unfair that someone with such a good heart had to be taken away from us. For the past 2 weeks, I've thought and thought about why this had to happen. I believe that Asher lived his life to the fullest. He lived his life and accomplished just what Hashem had set out for him. I think that all of us here sitting in this room have a special duty to keep Asher's memory alive. Next time you see one of your friends, don't take their qualities for granted. Compliment them, praise them, charm them. Remind them every day why you love them and why they are so special to you. That is just how Asher lives, and that is how we should all live from this day on. Asher, it's so hard to believe you're gone. Not a second passes that I don't think about you and how much I miss you. I'm so blessed to have had you in my life, and I know you'll never leave us. We love you, Ash. Rest in peace.
Thank you, Ilana. Thank you, Jody. Thank you, all of you, and those of you who will speak shortly. And I thought I was the only one that got compliments from Asher. For the first few days that I met him, he looked at me, he said, "I hope this is okay to say, but I really like the way your hair's cut." And I looked at him and I said, you don't have to do that. You'll get as much pastel, tesel, challah as you want here, even if you don't say that. He said, no, really. Okay, so I thought I was the only one. And it's still special, it doesn't take it away. We conclude the formal part of this program with a few words from Rabbi Rivkah Slonim.
I don't think that there's anything more that we could say, or whatever was said already and what will be said. I do want to conclude with something that is traditionally, in the Jewish tradition that goes back hundreds of years, in a time like this, that we study a certain passage of the foundation of the oral Jewish law called Mishnah. One of the reasons that we study this particular study is because the letters of the word Mishnah spells the word neshama, and neshama means a soul. And we believe and we know that there are many ways how we all connecting to Asher's soul, but this study of this particular Mishnah, this particular passage, is going to help us in this special gathering to connect to his soul through this learning. And as if you're going to see soon the particular passage that we choose, because there are there's 6 tractates of this particular study, and we choose one passage that begins with the first letter of the name of Asher, the letter Aleph, and also the content of this passage also speaks a lot about who Asher was.
So we're going to study together this one passage. It's going to be on the screen. And we'll have in mind when we study to remember Asher, Dov, Ben, Reuven, Ephraim. I'm going to say it out loud in Hebrew, but you can read it, the English translation of this. Eilu dvarim she'ein lehem shir, apeo, v'abikurim, ve'oroim, v'gmilus chasadim, v'salmut Torah, eilu dvarim she'adam achel paraseim b'olam hazeh, ve'akerem kayemet lo l'olam haba, ve'eiluim, kibud av v'eim, v'gmilut chasadim, v'ashkamas beis hamedresh shachrit ve'arvit, v'achnosas ochim, v'bikur choylin, v'achnosas kalo, v'levayas hameis, v'iyun tefila, v'avos shalem shebein adam v'chaviro, v'salmut Torah k'neged kulam. If you see the translation, all of those different components that is mentioned here in this Mishnah, in this passage, Asher lived each and every one of them to the fullest. Before we conclude, King Solomon, in one of his writings in the book of Kohelet, when he talks about remembering those who passed on, he uses the word v'achai iten el libo, that the living should take to heart, or a better translation, take in our hearts. And the question is, what is King Solomon telling us? It's an obvious thing that if somebody, a loved one, is taken from us, anytime, we all take it to heart, and we all remember, and it affects us. So what is King Solomon telling us as something that we don't know? And the answer to this is, King Solomon is not talking to us about the obvious that we take it to heart when we feel a pain, a sorrow. What he's telling us is that we have to take it in our hearts and make sure that Asher lives through our hearts. But not only through our hearts, but to take whatever we have in our hearts and bring it into action. As many previous speakers spoke so beautifully about who Asher was and how we all could feel and see how Asher could live through us. But what it's important, that not only tonight, not only tomorrow or next week or a month from now, but we have to pledge and promise to Asher that even though physically he's not with us here anymore, but we are physically here, and his life could be lived through us in a tangible, physical way. So we're going to come up soon, and we're going to suggest a few action that all of us could take upon ourselves in not only remembering Asher, but also making sure that Asher lives through us. And through this action, we are connecting to the soul of Asher. As we all know that in Judaism, and especially Jewish mysticism, explains to us that the life of a person never stops. The true life of every human being does not stop when he or she is physically not here. And especially when we have a person who affected each and every one of us who are sitting here tonight, and many, many, many hundreds and perhaps thousands of others, when he affects us in our life, for sure we know that Asher's life, the true essence of his life, is with us strongly, and we pledge to him that it's going to be even stronger in the days, weeks, months, and years to come. And may Hashem, the only one who could comfort the loving family and all of the friends, should give us the strength and the blessing to be able to continue to bring about everything that we want to make sure to remember and leave Asher through us. Thank you.
Asher's passing, any passing, reminds us of how precious life is and how we must utilize each moment. Planet Earth might be tiny, but the spirit of the human is immense, and the good deeds that we can do can hardly be measured. To remember Asher properly, we urge you, we want to suggest, strongly suggest, that each of us here turn our tears into action, that we tether our feelings to something practical, that we do something specifically to remember Asher, not only tonight, not only in the ensuing days and weeks, but for a long time after. Here are two suggestions. One is a very simple concept. I know you've heard it before. And one person actually wrote this on the blog, how Asher embodied this. And it would be very appropriate for all of us to take this lesson from him. Pay it forward. If someone did something nice for you, do something nice for someone else. Surprise them. Shock them. Just do it. Just because. And do it to remember Asher. Another suggestion. One of the things Asher enjoyed here last year, it worked better with his schedule, was coming to supper and study. The Beit Midrash program here on Wednesday nights, which begins with a light dinner and pure study under the guidance of Rabbi Chaim. Meets here at Chabad on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. This coming semester, at supper and study, a few Mishnayot from Masechet Brachot will be studied, so that at the end of the semester, the entire Masechet will be completed in Asher's memory. Those of you who can make it on Wednesday at 7 p.m., this would be a truly wonderful way to perpetuate Asher's love for Jewish learning and observance. So those are two suggestions, but really, it doesn't matter what you do. We should all just do something. And I want to remind those of you, many of you, have taken on the study of Mishnayot to be completed by the day of Asher Shloshim, 30 days from his passing. And David Herman, who was a student here, who organized this campaign, asked that whoever took on to study Mishnayot make sure to complete it by the Shloshim, by 30 days from his passing, which is February 9th. So I just wanted to remind you of that. And finally, I'll ask all of you to rise. Rabbi Levi Slonim will lead us in the traditional prayer for the deceased, Kel Malei Rachamim. Please remain standing. After that, Dr. Strobel, Asher's father, will lead us in the Mourner's Kaddish. After which we invite friends to make use of the mic, which is set up in the center aisle. And 15 minutes after the conclusion of this program, Ma'ariv will be held in the sanctuary.
El Malei Rachamim, Shechein Roimim, Hamtzei Menucha Nechayna Al Kanfei HaShechina, Maloi Sakdoishim Utoirim, Gezer Arakia Mazirim, Es Nishmas, Asher Dov, Ben Reuven Ephraim, Sheholach Leila Amai, Bavur Shenod Vutzdaka, Ba'at Haskaras Nishmasai, Began Eden Tehei Menuchasai, L'chein Baal HaRachamim, Yastireu B'seisek Nafav Leilamim, V'yitzrer Chaim Es Nishmasai, Adinai Hu Nachalasai, V'yanuach Al Mishkavai B'Shalayim, ונאמר אמן.
Yadavi Yikadash Shemei Rabah. Yama Dibrahi Ritei B'Yalif Makutei. Chayechon B'Yomechon V'Chayet Chol Beit Yisrael. V'Agalah V'Zman Kariv V'Yimru. Amen. Shemei Rabah V'Torach L'Olam L'Omeo Maya. Barach Yishtabach Yivarav Yitramam Yitnasei. Yithadar Yithalev Yithalal Shemei D'Kudsha B'Richu. Leila Mikol Gechata V'Shirata. Chata v'nechamata v'amiram b'yama v'yimru amen. Yehi shalom rabba min shemaya v'chayim tovim aleinu v'alkol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Aseh shalom b'mamav v'kli aseh shalom aleinu v'alkol Yisrael v'yimru amen.
You can all be seated, and the mic is in the center for those who want to approach the mic. It's understandably difficult to speak. While I know there are people who will come to the mic, and while you're making your way to the mic, I want to remind everyone that there is a blog, Remembering Asher, and you can access that at JewishBU.com. And you can put, I'm sorry?
/Asher. /Asher.
JewishBU.com/Asher. And you can use that medium as well to remember Asher. Asher's first cousin. Make sure it's on. Hello? Asher's first cousin, Hannah, would like to say something.
I grew up with Asher, and now it's not fair to say goodbye. I have so many wonderful memories with him. It was just a few weeks ago I saw him in motion. It was recently this year that he drove me and my brother home,